President Trump has issued a warning to Iran's government. Any bloody crackdown on protests will invite U.S. intervention. Trump says U.S. is ready to help the protesters, but what are his options and limits for an intervention in Iran? Let's find out. Well, in his latest social media post, Trump said that Iran is looking at freedom, adding that USA stands ready to help. This comes after he had warned Iranians against a violent crackdown.
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So.
Multiple U.S. media reports claim that Trump administration officials have already discussed the possible options. According to reports, one option being discussed is a large-scale aerial strike on multiple Iranian military targets. These could target IRGC or law enforcement forces that are being used to put down the growing protests. Another option includes strikes on non-military sites. Reports citing officials said that there isn't a consensus on what course of action to take. But there is a fear that a U.S. military intervention may backfire. Strikes could also deter some of the protesters from taking to the streets. A direct American intervention might be rejected by parts of Iranian public. Now, it could galvanize people to support the government. The New York Times, citing a senior U.S. military official, said that commanders in the region would want more time to prepare for any possible retaliation by Iran. The reports also claim that no military equipment or personnel had been moved in preparation for a strike. However, the U.S. has a considerable presence in the region. U.S. Central Command has been conducting strikes against Islamic State targets in Syria. Now, remember, back in June, American B-2 bombers had directly flown over from the U.S. to hit nuclear facilities in Iran. Iran has warned that any U.S. attack would lead to retaliation. Meanwhile, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has assured Iranians that help is on the way. Graham told Iranians that their long nightmare is soon coming to an end. Graham wrote, and I'm adding here, who are sacrificing in Iran, God bless, help is on the way. Now, earlier, Trump had shared a tweet from Graham calling to make Iran great again. U.S. already has a willing ally in the region in Israel. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke by phone on Saturday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Reports said that the two leaders discussed the protests in Iran along with the situation in Syria and Gaza. Israel is on high alert for the possibility of any U.S. intervention in Iran. We earlier spoke with Iranian journalist Yusuf Jalali on the ground situation in Iran, and here's what he told us. Listen to this.
The Iranian supreme leader made very strong remarks recently, and he said that he advised protesters to keep it legitimate, keep it peaceful. And then he said that he drew a very thick red line between what he calls protesters and rioters, who he says that please the U.S. president and Iranian enemies. So he made it clear that any kind of protest or any kind of sabotage or vandalism that lead to some maybe casualties or clashes or confrontation with security forces, those people, if captured, then they will face severe punishment or harsh punishment. This is a message that was sent to the protesters on the street. He said that, meanwhile, he said that he acknowledges the legitimate demands of the protesters. Iranians have been living under severe economic challenges, but when it comes to undermining the national security of Iran, he said that those people are regarded as saboteurs or some vandals or people who want to please the enemies of the Islamic Republic. And following his comments, we see that pro-government protests or counter-protests have been staged by people who chant slogans in favor of the Islamic Republic and calling for protesters to remain peaceful, and saying that vandalizing or setting fire to banks and public property is not acceptable. those calls for mass mobilization coming from Reza Pahlavi, who is the exiled crown prince of Iran. Of course, nobody thought and expected that his words would carry so much weight in Iran. Protesters took to the streets chanting slogans, but of course we can hear some limited slogans calling for his return. Experts here in Iran call these slogans that of course urge the return of the Pahlavi dynasty in Iran, call them symbolic rather than genuine. The Islamic Republic's official stance tries to say that those protesters do not want or do not favor or support the Pahlavi dynasty, given the fact that the 1979 Islamic Revolution overthrew the father of Reza Pahlavi back in 1979 and of course instated and established an Islamic system. So the Islamic Republic believes that the Pahlavi dynasty does not hold any weight here or does not enjoy a significant following base here. Of course, it remains to be seen because we see that the Pahlavi crown prince Reza Pahlavi made another and issued another call on Saturday and again on Sunday.